Marco, would you be able to tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Marco. I'm currently the Director of People and Talent at QOOT. QOOT is an international hospitality operator and investment firm, Saudi-based with offices in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and London, operating a number of brands in the UK. You would probably have heard of By Chloe, the Lebanese bakery, Gentleman Baristas, amongst others. Still with a positive outlook, still growing. We firmly believe that that there's a good future for our sector. I've previously held HR director positions in a Black Sheep Coffee, at Leon Restaurants and Bill's Restaurants. Helped all of them grow along the way. So I've been around and know the industry, I suppose.
I've been around. I think I can chop that somewhere, and I'm going to use that at some point. So let's kick straight in and let's think about being your best self. And as I say, there is going to be people sitting watching this on a bus, in their car, just thinking about kind of how they can develop themselves and move themselves forward. So our starting point really wants to be around understanding and demonstrating your skill set. How can I go about understanding all of my skills? Have you got any tips for me on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first thing is it starts with how well you know yourself, right? So knowing yourself is a really good starting point, and a lot of people just don't. So I would say involve other people. Feedback is amazing. Some companies are very good at having that as part of their company culture. Some people have got it with their friends and their nearest and dearest and their colleagues, but it's not the norm for everyone. But I find, I've learned this from personal experience. Feedback makes you better if it gives you a better understanding of who you are and what you're really good at. So therefore, I just say go and speak to some people. If you're not sure, go to those who you value, those who you possibly see as a mentor or coach or dear industry friend, and ask them what they think you're really good at, because they might surprise you. I see some CVs that come my way. They're so generic. And you think, do you know what? There must be more in this, and I'm sure there is. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a full understanding of who you are and what you're really good at, just ask other people for help, because most people are really open to the idea of giving people positive feedback, because it feels good to give good feedback, right? To tell somebody what they're really good at, and it might be a real eye opener. So and having that ammunition, I suppose, then enables you to present yourself in a completely different way. So you don't need that generic personal statement anymore. You don't need that generic CV anymore. You can load it with very specific attributes about yourself, and therefore present yourself to an employer in a completely different way. So being your best self means at this moment in time, if you want to demonstrate that, chances are you're going to be applying for a lot of jobs at the moment. Mm-hmm. Chances are also that by having this nondescript approach, it might not be as successful as you'd need it to be or want it to be. So if you just dig a little bit deeper and tickle out what you're really good at, and put that on paper, present it in a way that you may not have thought of. So one of those people who knows you very well may be somebody who could be a reference. So you could, why not put it on the top of your CV? There could be, instead of having a personal statement, it could be a personal reference from somebody who used to be your boss, etc., who says, do you know what, Kieran is a guy I'd hire any day, because Kieran has done this, that, and the other for me, and he's particularly good at X. I would, as an employer, if I read a CV like that, I'd go, do you know what? This is worth a lot more than a generic personal statement. So it just,
I love that.
Think about, companies need to think differently, and I think individuals need to as well at the moment. So
I like that idea about the personal statement. So I was chatting with Jane Sunley from Purple Cubed, and she hates the purple statement, the personal statement. In her words, it's the bullshit box, and it needs to go. Yeah. Now, I'm okay with that, because most personal statements have a feel of being quite generic, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas switching that out and putting in quite an interesting and personalized reference, straight away you're kind of coming all in with, these are my strengths. This is what I'm going to bring to your organization.
You got to you think about the person on the other side, right? If you particularly right now, there are lots of candidates out there in the market. It's a crowded market, so you really have to understand who you are and what you're really good at if you want to sell yourself properly, and show your worth, because you're underselling yourself if you're not investing into your CV. So and that generic box chances are the same words are being used by 50, 60, 70% of all applicants. So if you're a recruiter, you look at that, what you call it, the bullshit box. You look at that bullshit and everybody says the same thing. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. And I'm not even saying, it's not even that difficult, I think, to get it right. You don't even need to be necessarily specific to the company and to the job that you're applying for. I mean, even if you do, it's even better. But by making it genuinely personal about you, by having a statement such a reference from someone, I think just flips the whole thing, and it's no longer a bullshit box. It's a best of box.
Yeah, I like that. And I think immediately you're catching the eye, you're catching the attention. As you say, there's a lot of candidates out there. So potentially a recruiter is sitting looking at 100 CVs. You need to give yourself the fighting chance for standing out with that CV. Once you've got that and you've got that list, what are you going to do with that?
I mean, once you have all that, you've got to bear in mind, at the moment, I used to be a rower, right? And so I'm used to terminology around, does it make the boat go faster? So if you're a rower, you're a team player, and sometimes the boat is faster without you in the boat, and you're still part of the team. You can still make the boat go faster. So you need to understand how you make the boat go faster, right? So how do you apply that on the job, and how have you previously applied that on the job? Because at this moment in time, I can guarantee you everyone is looking for the best people, because everybody needs to make their boat go faster, because everybody needs to win. So most people have something they're really, really good at. So you just need to demonstrate it factually, with not just, again, I come back from the generic statement as at the top of the CV, the personal statement, to then go further into the CV, to not being shy of listing what you're really good at and what you have done that has helped companies make the boat go faster. Yeah, so I have increased sales by X because I've done this, that, and the other. I have developed people, these 3 people, be specific about it, not generic, because if you make it up, chances are you're going to get caught out. Mm-hmm. So be specific about it, but most people have got a lot to shout about. They have a lot to shout about. So don't be shy on a CV, because that's another thing that you see a lot. You always think it's too humble. Yes. This is your one sales opportunity. This is your sales pitch. Do you want to land that job or do you not? So, and whether it's at the application stage, or whether it's in the interview, you've got to be able to demonstrate what you're really good at. It's performance that really matters at the moment. So if you're being hired, you need to be on the ball. So you need to be demonstrating, whether it's on the CV or whether it's in the interview, how you are on the ball and how much of a top performer you are.
Yeah, I mean, what you've just talked about there it's a sales pitch, basically. And in any sales pitch, we're not selling an item, we're selling the benefits of that item. So any business, any kind of potential employer needs to be able to see really clearly and concisely what would be the benefits of having you in my business. That's it. And whether that is in that CV or whether that is in the interview process, then it's absolutely being able to kind of track it back to those personal moments of success with nice, clear examples, where the potential employer can look at that and think, well, actually, yeah, well, I need that in my life. I want 20% increased sales. That's going to make my life better at the moment. I want creative ways of saving on labor. That's going to make my life better at the moment. I want my guest experience to be blown out of the water every single day of the week. Well, that's going to make my business better. It's going to benefit me.
It's also, do you know what? It's absolutely right, and you have to stick to your guns here, because there's one thing trying to adapt yourself to a potential new employer because you've got an interview and you're so excited, and you change into jeans and whatever because you think that's what's expected, and that's all good, that's all fine, but be yourself. Always be yourself and stick to it. If you get rejected on the basis that you were yourself, then that's probably a good thing. And that's how you. It might be a difficult pill to swallow, but I've said this to so many people. It may be a blessing in disguise if you got rejected, because it's a two-way thing. There's probably a very good reason why they thought you may not have been the right fit, but nobody in the long term is happy and comfortable if they pretend to be something that they're not, right? So you have to be yourself, and if that means that, whether it's the skill set, whether it's your personality, if that means that it doesn't fit this particular employer and you therefore get rejected, that's okay. And you're going to have to go away and say, that's okay. I probably wouldn't have been happy there. Because if I'm trying to be something just to get this job and then fit in, is that going to be marriage made in heaven? I don't know. You're married, Kieran, right?
I am indeed.
Yeah, so surely your wife accepts you as you are.
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
Exactly. But this is it. It's got to be love. It's got to be love, and that's a two-way thing. It's a two-way thing. So yeah, you may get rejected. And it's never nice to hear the word no. And and I'm sure there's lots of people who hear no one too many times at the moment. Totally get that. But you have to keep going and believing in yourself and do what you're doing and sticking to your guns, because the time will come, and then it's even better. Because can you imagine going to a job every day and having to pretend to be someone you're not, just because you muddled your way through an interview process?
It would be exhausting.
Exactly. It'll be stressful in the end. So stick to your guns, and that's what, don't try and force yourself upon the interviewer with something that you think they may want to hear. Be yourself. It's really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely vital. Back to normal, all of those kind of networking events you talked about, Hire, obviously doing great work, Beers and Peers, Institute of Hospitality, through Springboard. There's loads of people who are doing things like this, where we can just kind of come together and just start to build relationships and start to have the conversations.
All of them also, it just, if you just have a look online, there's, obviously through these series of videos here, there is advice, and I know there's a flood of advice out there, but all of these groups also, if you follow them on social media, you get your little nuggets of advice there as well. So I always think, every management book that you ever read probably has one or two things in it that really matter. The rest is a load of words. But you'll find these really good nuggets of advice through social media as well, without having to read a book. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Those little moments of inspiration are an amazing thing, and they can be the thing that make the difference, So you find one of those and you have that little moment of inspiration, then you've got a Zoom call and the 50 pence is in the meter and you're already feeling much better about life. So when you open up the Zoom call, the energy, the positivity, it's there.
Definitely.
Yeah, it works. So you touched on the idea of kind of finding a coach or a mentor when we were talking about kind of identifying your skills. What do you think is the power of that? And do you think that people should really be seeking that out?
Absolutely. I've been fortunate. I genuinely don't think I would be where I am now if I hadn't had coaching and mentoring throughout my career. You have the right mindset. You have to have a willingness to learn to start with. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a clear idea of where you want to go, but you do need to have an open mind and an understanding that coaching sometimes is hard because the truth needs to be said, right? But I've had both business coaching, I've had mentoring from people in the industry, and both has helped me. I've now been both a coach and a mentor myself. I find personally it's helped me understand my skill set much better. It's helped me further my career much better because I could maximize my strengths and focus on what I'm really good at, whilst accepting weaknesses that I do have, where I used to waste a lot of time trying to become better at stuff that I'm just not very good at.
Yeah.
So it's helped me understand also that sometimes other people are just better placed to complete certain tasks or projects, etc., because they just have a different way of going about things. And I've learned to accept my weaknesses much better that way. But that allowed me, rather than wasting time on those on trying to work on those weaknesses, that really allowed me to maximize my strengths. And I think without coaching and mentoring, I probably wouldn't understand my strengths as well as I do now. So and I know not everybody's in the position to be able to have a professional coach. You're very lucky and fortunate if you work for somebody where that's part of the package. But everybody has that one or two, that one person or those two people who they've worked with, a former boss, a colleague, etc., who knows them very well. You can be coached or coach over a beer, right? Yeah. It doesn't have to be a session on a sofa. It is, if you're open-minded enough, groundbreaking. As far as I'm concerned.
How would you potentially identify somebody in maybe within your business who you think would be a good mentor?
Yeah, well, you can have one of two ways, right? So there's some people believe that a coach or mentor needs to be somebody who you personally get along with very well, and that can certainly be very helpful. But from my point of view, the idea is that somebody needs to be very good at sharing their expertise and being able to. Not everybody, you would know this. Not everybody who's good at their job is necessarily good at training other people.
Yeah.
Some people are mediocre at the job, but they're excellent trainers. So I suppose if you understand who are those people who pass their knowledge on from a mentoring point of view, who are those people who you look up to, who you see yourself, and there needs to be a connection. But you got to bear in mind, it has to be uncomfortable sometimes. It has to be uncomfortable, otherwise it might not work. So they don't need to be your best mate. They need to be the source of all knowledge and expertise, but yeah, there needs to be a personal connection as well, for sure.
And particularly if it's been done correctly, then it can get uncomfortable, and that in itself is quite often where the real shifts will come from.
But we probably sound as though it's like coaching is this really difficult exercise, where you get stripped bare and you have to obey your soul. It should be a thing about, look, I want to be coached because I have aspirations in life. I may not necessarily know what they are. I may need help from somebody who knows me quite well and who genuinely knows people very well. You may not be the person, you may not know who the best coach is, but somebody else might. Ask them, So, and even if the company that you work for doesn't have a mentoring program in place, a lot of companies do, but if they don't, it's always worth asking whether we could have a mentoring scheme in place. And you'd be amazed how many people are open to the idea, because if I say, do you know what, you're a person I want to learn from, can I have 2 hours of your time once a month or once every 6 weeks? Not many people are going to say no, are they?
I wouldn't think so. And again, not in this industry.
No. It's just, people, you've got to bear in mind, particularly if you ask somebody to be a mentor, most people like to share their knowledge. They like to put an arm around other people. this industry is full of people who've moved from the floor into the boardroom, right? There are so many people, who you could go to who share that journey where you said, and this is how I did it, and this is what I did, and these are the levers that I pull, and this is what I see you doing right, and what you need to do more of. There are so many people who are happy to share that knowledge, and if you can't identify them yourselves, go ask.
What do you think employers are looking for from folks?
And we needn't get worried about, oh my God, the employers are now looking for all different things. Think about yourself and what you're really good at, and believe in that. That's what's so important, and if in doubt, if you need any advice, sometimes the person you talk to most is yourself, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you and we all give other people a lot of advice. Sometimes it's probably quite wise to sort of take the outside perspective, because sometimes we know it. If I was giving another person advice, this is what I would say. So why don't I say that to myself? Yeah. So,
and more importantly, why don't I listen?
Exactly. So it's just, we don't necessarily need to reinvent everything. We just need to be conscious of what matters. So the essence of you, the essence of me, what is that? Don't try and break, overdo it. Keep it real. Keep it.
Love that, man.
Keep yourself. Stay yourself.
That's all you can do is the reality of life. Is just be the best version of you and just deliver that for as many people as you possibly can.
And that's the best version of you. Is actually that's a really good key, because this have you heard of act as if?
No.
So that if act as if, there's a couple of different versions of act as if, whereby you think either act as if, so if you want to have a certain position or whatever, and you visualize how you already have the job, and therefore then behave in a more improved way,
that way,
do a process, etc. But also, I think act as if in terms of, remember the time when you did something really, really well, really well. You had an amazing achievement. How did that feel? And then capture that, and then act as if. That's that brings out the true best version of yourself. A lot of sports people do that in tournaments, moments where it matters, etc., where they get into the zone, whether it's golf players or footballers when they take a penalty, sprinters, etc. When it matters, they sort of, in their mind is a line that they overstep, and then they become this superstar version of themselves. And that superstar version of themselves is not invented, that actually exists, and you just need to remember when that person existed. So when you did something amazing, how did that feel? What did you do? Just act as if.
Love that. I'm stealing that, Marco. I'm having that.
It's not my invention.
That's okay then. I mean, by the time we've done, I'm going to rebadge it as mine. I'll be honest with you. I just tweaked the language a little bit, but I love it. That's exactly right. I think it's remember that best version of you and just put that forward every single time. That was superb, mate. That's 30 odd minutes of absolute solid gold that I know people are going to take a lot of benefit from. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Kieran.
Amazing, mate. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.